Hello. My soul waits for the Lord more than the night watch for the morning, more than the night watch for the morning. The theme for this reflection is watching, and when I think of watching, I'm often put in mind of this verse from Psalm 130. I'm recording this in our chapel here at Holy Trinity, here at HMS Sultan, home of the Royal Navy's engineering school in Gosport. I've always liked the town's motto, God's port, our haven, which is probably why quite a few naval chaplains have gravitated here over the years. It would have been good to be able to record this reflection on the bridge of a warship, the domain of officers of the watch, but obviously in the present circumstances, piercing a ship's bubble wasn't really an option. Watching particularly resonates with naval life because on board ship the day is divided into 7 watches. First watch is from 2000 until midnight. Middle watch from midnight until 4. The morning watch from 4 until 8, sometimes referred to as the long morning. The forenoon watch from 8 until midday. And the afternoon watch from midday until 1600, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Then come the 2 dog watches, the first from 1600 to 1800, and the last from 1800 to 2000 again. The purpose of these 2 shorter watches is to ensure that by alternating the watchkeepers, they get to do a different watch every day. A dog watch has also passed into naval slang as a short period of time. He's only been in half a dog watch and he already thinks he knows it all, is hopefully something nobody has ever said about me. The ship's company itself is also divided into 2 watches, port and starboard, and everyone is allocated to one or the other. In time of war or potentially dangerous situations, the ship will go into defence watches, the port and starboard watches alternating according to their department's watch cycle, which can vary between 8 hours on, 8 hours off, or a 12-hour cycle. Personally, I take a watch-on, stop-on approach to chaplaincy and remain on call 24 hours a day. I remember being on board HMS Kent in defence watches a few years ago in the Gulf and making the most of the call of my elderly bladder and getting up in the night to tour the ship before returning to bed. This week we remember a particularly gruelling night and day that began apparently innocuously enough with a meal among friends, but then came to change the shape of the whole world. First watch. Jesus and the disciples leave the upper room after supper, cross the Kidron to the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus withdraws from the others with Peter, James and John and prays that the cup may pass from him. The others fall asleep. Judas arrives with the temple guard and kisses Jesus. Peter cuts off Malchus's ear, but Jesus heals it. Jesus accepts that he must drink the cup and is led away while the disciples flee. Middle watch. Jesus is taken to the high priest. Peter follows and is admitted to the courtyard and denies knowing Jesus for the first time. The Sanhedrin put Jesus on trial. He is discharged with a threat to destroy the temple. Annas sends Jesus to Caiaphas. Jesus is accused of blasphemy and sentenced to death. Morning watch. Peter denies Jesus for a second and third time. The cock crows and Jesus turns and looks at him. Jesus is led away from Caiaphas' house to the praetorium and Pilate. Judas commits suicide. Forenoon watch. Jesus is taken before Pilate. Are you the king of the Jews? Thou sayest, Jesus replies. Pilate sends Jesus to Herod, but with no crime to answer, he is returned to Pilate. The crowd demand the freedom of Barabbas. Jesus is scourged and mocked, and the crowd shout, "Crucify him!" Jesus is handed over to be crucified, and the Roman soldiers make him a crown of thorns. Simon of Cyrene is pressed into helping Jesus carry the cross, and they are followed by a crowd of mourning women. Jesus tells them to weep for themselves. On reaching Golgotha, Jesus is crucified between two criminals, while the soldiers draw lots for his clothing. Afternoon watch. The sky goes dark. The crowd mock Jesus. He saved others. Let him save himself. One of the thieves joins in. If you are the Christ, why don't you save us and yourself? The other thief rebukes him. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. Truly, I tell you, you will be with me today in paradise. The temple curtain is torn from top to bottom, and Jesus calls out in a loud voice, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit, and breathes his last. The centurion in attendance praises God and affirms, surely this was the Son of God. First dog watch. Because of the impending Sabbath, the Jews asked Pilate for the legs of those on the crosses to be broken and the bodies to be taken down. Jesus is found to be already dead. A soldier pierces his side with a spear, which produces a flow of blood and water. John and the women folk look on. Last dog watch. Joseph of Arimathea asks Pilate for Jesus' body. With the help of Nicodemus, they carefully wrap Jesus' body and place it in a newly prepared tomb in a nearby garden. They return to their homes in preparation for the Sabbath. The disciples hide away in the upper room, and they look nervously from the window as the sun sets and the day's watch cycle draws to a close. The waiting begins. My soul waits for the Lord more than the night watch for the morning, more than the night watch for the morning.